All right, everybody, welcome back to the We Got Game NHL eSports podcast. Today I got a very special guest with me. I know him as Chris just now. Most of you may know him as Odie. So Odie, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So yeah, we got Odie's pretty experienced with the We Got Game and NHL esports community. So it's gonna be another guest to come on here and kind of get into his experience with esports, NHL, and as I said, the We Got Game involvement with it. So what's kind of like your history with the NHL gaming community and NHL games in general?
Yeah, so I started playing ago competitively like 12 years ago, probably when I was 15, 16 years old. I mainly back then there wasn't many tournaments. The only thing back then was the EASHL finals that they had, but at the time I was only 15, 16 years old, and the age to play in it was the first year was 19 and then the second year was 21, so I wasn't eligible to play in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I played a couple tournaments here and there back then. Yeah, but now recently, the past 3 years, it's really vamped up. We got the World Championship that I've participated in
Mm-hmm.
the past 2 or 3 years in Versus. You got tournaments like the Caps Gaming tournament for 20K that happened, the 25K Sharks tournament that my team won.
Okay.
We won this year the 25K ESHL Sixes Sharks tournament, which is the biggest prize pool that they've ever had for
Mm-hmm.
6v6. So, but yeah, and then also I've played in a lot of these We Got Game tournaments. I remember like 5, 6 years ago going to Eaton Center and
Yeah.
playing in a versus tournament where they had every winner of each mall got to play against each other.
Okay.
And so I was the winner from Eaton Center, and then I played against what were the other one? I can't remember the other malls, but I know I did play Josh Fearless.
Okay.
He's a big time streamer now, and he participated in those tournaments as well. But always really good tournaments from We Got Game.
As you can tell, Odie is very experienced with the NHL competitive esports community. As you mentioned, pretty big prize from the Sharks thing. So that must have felt good. And specifically in We Got Game, um we can see they're kind of getting more involved in the NHL community with the tournament we recently had, where you guys put on a pretty good show. So yeah, kind of talk about that tournament and just your involvement with We Got Game and how they put on a show for the entrance.
Yeah, so as someone reached out to me and said that We Got Game was putting up a 1.5K threes tournament, so I decided, you know what, I'll just sign up. And they've always had really good tournaments in the past, so I thought I'd sign up. I haven't really played threes that much in the past, other than last year I was in the We Got Game London Knights tournament
Mm-hmm.
uh, that happened, and we won that. But I don't really play threes just because there isn't as many tournaments for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up finishing. I think it was third. We lost to the team that won it, Nationals, and also the team that came in second, which was No Cap. And both are really good teams. Like the next day, we played in an Xbox tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, both those two teams from PlayStation were honestly better than the Xbox teams. And I was actually pretty shocked because well, I knew who the guys on Nationals were from playing against them in 6v6,
Yeah.
and I know they play a lot of threes. But the team from No Cap, I think we played them in a sixes tournament, uh, like a league game a couple weeks ago, and they were really good. They gave us a good game, but I didn't expect them to be that good in threes. So it was definitely shocking, and they're a really good team.
Yeah.
Like they were really good.
You guys had some definite entertaining games. Like there was a one against, I know, the We Got Game sponsored team, the Tropics, like a
Hmm.
thriller. That game was really good. Like a lot of people kind of, I feel like, didn't really expect like you guys to come out and just be this amazing, but obviously, being more of a sixes prestigious kind of level team, because there's a big difference, right, between sixes and
Oh yeah,
threes.
for sure.
But yeah, so it was good to see that. So one thing you mentioned, as I just said, like you play a lot more sixes and threes. Is there like a main reason behind that, or is that just kind of how it happened?
So I honestly, for me, I actually enjoyed threes more than sixes, just
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like in threes, if you make a mistake, you actually get penalized for that. But in 6v6, if you make a mistake, there's always someone to back you up and pick you up for your
Yeah.
mistakes. So I feel like the really good players really shine in threes,
Mm-hmm.
whereas sixes is kind of just like, I think sixes is way more team oriented, but sixes is more individual skill. So I actually do like threes more than sixes, but the reason why I play sixes more is just because of the tournaments that we constantly have.
Okay.
Like I think 3 to 4 times a week I'm in either league games or like tournaments or whatever. So we kind of just prep for that, and especially since it's so teamwork oriented, we got to get in as many games as possible. So that's kind of just why I've played more sixes than threes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we talk about how that London Knights tournament with We Got Game and stuff, and we know how We Got Game kind of operates, like they're very positive, kind of pushing like the kindness notes. So how do you think that is positively affecting like the NHL community in general, and just how you participate in these tournaments versus like other tournaments maybe?
uh I don't know that. Well, first off, we got games like the only people in like Ontario running NHL tournaments.
Yeah.
Usually any other tournaments are from like the US or whatever, they're organized by. So we got game is honestly one of the only people operating out of Ontario, which is
Mhm.
really good. But also I think they were the first people to run a LAN ESHL event. I don't think so later that year there was a 66 Capitals Gaming LAN,
Yeah.
but I think that London Knights tournament was the first ESHL LAN that we had. Uh, Honestly, since NHL 09-10, but that wasn't really a big tournament. It was kind of just for a trip to Vancouver.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, We Got Game is definitely innovating.
Okay. Well, that's it's good to hear. So your team, I believe, is Ollie Posier, right?
Yeah. So how that the team name we kind of went about it is so my 6v6 team is called Composure,
Okay.
and my teammates who are Gabsy, Rocket, and Reigns, they both play on a team called Olympia. So
Oh,
I
okay.
just
Okay.
decided to Ollie Posier
Okay.
kind of mix the two together.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
All right. So talk about kind of like your history within like EASHL specifically. I mean, it's changed so much from like when we got it to now. So what's it kind of been like for you, just staying competitive, playing with your friends, playing 3 6s? So how has that like been good to you in a sense?
yeah. So I first started out in NHL 09-10. I played with a team called Legends Never Die. We played for probably, I think it was 4 or 5 years we played together, and then there was kind of like a dead period in the ASHL where there was nothing going on. So EA stopped running their tournaments, the two ESHL championships that they ran, and it was kind of just dead. People were playing on league games on websites, but it wasn't for any prize pool. And then so during that time period, I kind of just played league games, and like wasn't really involved in like club as much. But then a website started running money tournaments, and I
Mm-hmm.
played with a team called Neutral Zone Trap for about 1 year to 2 years, roughly. And so I played that, and then I finally started playing with my current team, which was Composure. We've been playing for probably about 5 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we've won a few tournaments like the 25K Sharks tournament. We won a 10K space eSports tournament at the beginning of last year, and then we also won a LG tournament about 4 or 5 years
Okay.
ago.
Okay.
So
So your team is pretty good at coming up clutch in these tournaments. So what's kind of like your mindset and your team's mindset going into these tournaments, especially when it's like $25,000 on the line?
yeah, so I think the key is to just not tilt. So uh, how I how I think the community is that there are these high tier teams that are really good and they usually win tournaments, and then there are teams that are like really good but they don't end up winning tournaments. And I think the difference, like in skilled, both these teams, the two tiered teams, are like both roughly the same, but it all comes down to mental. Like
Mm-hmm.
your mental, like when things go bad, that is when you truly know how good your team is. A lot of teams just tend to crumble or like just tilt and games start snowballing out of control, and so same with the series. So I truly think that the mental game is the definitely the most important. It's just staying calm and everyone being positive and confident in game.
Yeah, I think it's too. I mean, especially when there's so much money on the line, right?
Oh yeah.
You gotta keep your nerves down, and I'm sure it's very hard for people, especially like in sixes. You have to be so cohesive. So that's I
Yeah.
think that's the difference between like threes, right? Like there's especially a lot more communication within that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think for threes, you definitely have to be on your A game because if you're not on your A game, the other team's going to just make good of all their chances, all your mistakes that you're making
Mm-hmm.
by playing bad. So, but yeah.
Yeah. So, one thing we talked about, like you said, when you were talking about your history with ESHL, is like how EA kind of stopped putting a lot of effort into it. So,
Hmm.
with NHL 21, NHL 20, and like the new gen from 16 on, we've kind of seen them become a bit more involved. Obviously, nothing topples Hut because it's Hut, but
Hmm.
how do you feel EA has been like involved with keeping players engaged, and also how they could like improve it?
Uh, so I honestly don't think EA does a very good job at keeping their audience engaged. There's not really anything. So I made a post a couple months ago about this issue that EA has in keeping their player base engaged. Because honestly, what it comes down to is that if you're by yourself and you don't have your teammates to play with, like you can't play ESHL. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of just forces you to play Hut because that's the only single player mode. I mean, you could play drop-ins and stuff like that, but like no one really wants to play
Yeah.
drop-ins anyways, right? So I think they need to make like some sort of incentive or some sort of matchmaking system where you can just go and play competitive games by yourself. Like if you're a high tier player, like what and you want to play just by yourself and queue into a game against like good people, that doesn't exist right now. Like
Yeah.
the drop-in system, you get matched up with random people and it just becomes like an absolute just mess.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that EA needs to address, and I'm sure they will address it next year with the whole new gen switch. But yeah, but also EA doesn't really get involved in esports. They
Mm-hmm.
just kind of market the World Championship, but they're not actually involved with that. That's the NHL
Mm-hmm.
that runs that. So honestly, the only two tournaments that they did run were in NHL 09 and 10,
Okay.
but they haven't really been putting stuff
All right. All right.
before.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I do see your thing with dropping because like this is no offense to people that are like lower levels, but like if I'm like prestige 4 or level like 30 and I go into a dropping game and I'm like my defense was like a level 2, I'm probably gonna leave the game and look for a new lobby. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really bad. So
And also a lot of drop-in players don't like passing, so
yes.
yeah, I think maybe us kind of like matching you with people that are like to your skill, but also like with NHL in general, not many people are kind of like playing it compared to other sports games. So that's why when you're in like Division 1, sometimes you go into a game with your friends and you're playing against a Division 6 team. So I
Yeah.
think maybe we could talk about how I think the only way they could improve it is cross gen. But
That would
yeah.
be good. But so there's this thing that this Discord that people have been running. It's called drafts, where like you just sign up and then it puts you in a well, people sign up for their position. So let's say I want to play right defense. I
Mhm.
sign up for right defense and it's a lobby of 12 people that are like actually good players, and then you kind of just draft teams and you play for what they call elo points. So
Okay.
it's like +5 for a win, -5 for a loss, or -5 for a loss, and it's actually like really good. And I feel like if EA implemented something like that in their game, uh, I mean they kind of have it with their what is it CR or SR or
RP.
whatever
RP I think it's called.
RP,
Yeah.
but it's not that
Yeah.
good, and the matchmaking system does isn't really good, so you're not really getting quality games all the time. But these Discord that they have for drafts are really good. It's actually rejuvenated a lot of people's desire to play the game. So because you can just, if your team's not on, you can just go in and play whatever
Mm-hmm.
competitive games with other people. So it's really good.
Yeah, I think the RP thing is odd to me because like sometimes like you'll lose a game 6-5, or you'll be the ones you scored all 5 goals and you lost like 300 400 RP. So I think
Oh,
yeah, I think like maybe they could like maybe include goals, assists, maybe points just to kind of differentiate it. Because I know for me personally, like if I have like a really good game, like say I score 6 goals, but somehow my team loses 8-6 and I'm losing all the RP, like it kind of hurts, you know?
yeah. I don't know how it works because I don't really like pay attention to that stuff
Yeah.
whenever I play. But because usually we just play private matches,
Mhm.
anyways. We don't really search.
Mhm.
So when we play scrims, we just
Okay.
do private.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I they need to definitely do something about it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So let's get into our first sponsor segment. This one is brought to you by Gamer Gamer Goo.
Betty Sue and her opponent Drew are intensely playing Zombie Wall 2. Betty Sue, I'm drenched with dew. My hands feel like they've been dipped in fondue. Of course they do, Drew, you bumbling buckaroo. You're not using Gamer Goo. A non-slip lotion, a hand cream for you. 3 lovely scents worth your review. Peppermint, orange peel, and cinnamon. Ooh, you'll get energy and focus that's long overdue. Don't believe us? Just ask
Justin Clark. The chemistry of Gamer Goo involves
not only for gaming, but stick sports too. Could you imagine a match without Gamer Goo? Drew placed his order for Gamer Goo. They hugged it out, stuck together like glue, but they're brother and sister, and that's kind of taboo.
Let it focus. So, as Odie was talking about, those 25K tournaments, I guarantee his hands were sweating. So,
Definitely.
you know what Gamer Goo does? It stops sweaty hands at the source. So, sometimes when you're playing NHL, you're trying to do certain dekes or take certain shots, and your finger slips, and then you just shot it at nothing. So, Gamer Goo stops that. So, if you want to be, if you want your hands not to sweat, pick up some Gamer Goo. So, the question I want to ask you is, what is your favorite NHL game ever? If you had to pick one.
So the game that I enjoyed the most, I don't know if it's definitely the best game, but it was my favorite. I had the most fun. Was definitely NHL 09, just
Okay.
because it was the first game that had ESHL, and it was my first time playing ESHL, so it was kind of new, and I think that kind of like that's kind of why I think it's my favorite. I had the most fun in it because it's a new concept that we
Mm-hmm.
never had seen before. So definitely NHL 09. But in terms of like the best NHL game, I actually think NHL 20 for
It was
ESHL
very good.
was
It was
really
very
good.
good. Yeah.
People definitely took it for granted. Like this game's not as good as NHL 20.
I agree.
It's okay, but it's NHL 20 I thought was actually a really good game.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you 100% there. I thought NHL 20 it felt smooth, like the gameplay was good. You're obviously going to always have your glitch goals, your cheese goals every year. Like you can't really get mad at that. So, I thought overall, yeah, NHL 20 was very very good. So, I agree with you with that 100%. So, yeah, shout out to Gamer Goo for sponsoring that segment. We appreciate it. So, yeah, as I said before, stop sweaty hands at the source. We're gaming a lot. It's in the heat of the moment, and we don't want our hands to be sweating. Our controllers might slip. You might do the wrong move. So yeah, pick up some Gamer Goo. So the next segment I want to talk about is, so, what position do you usually play when you're playing NHL?
Oh, I play right defense.
Okay.
Only right defense. That is the only
Okay.
position for like 12 years that I've played.
Okay. So what's when we're talking NHL 21, we got the loadout system with the traits and the height and the way and how all that makes a difference. So what's your loadout?
So I think this is the best build in the game. It's gotten to a point where actually forwards, wingers sometimes even use this build. It's the puck moving D, the 174 puck moving D.
Mhm.
Traits just would go with for defense. I think the purple interceptor and the blue back checking trait
Mhm.
and the poke checking
Yeah.
as well. I think those are really good because Interceptor gives you the D-awareness boost and I think, agility boost as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the Backchecker gives you the speed boost and also the poke checking boost.
Okay.
So I think that by far is the best build in the game. Just by itself, I think the 6', 174 puck mover is like really good. The traits vary based on how you play, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the best build in the game right now.
Okay. So we're talking loadouts, right? So when we think of like NHL players and how it kind of goes with our loadouts, what do you think is your NHL player comparable to how you play?
So actually, we talk about this a lot within our team and kind of who
Okay.
we play like. I would say that I play more like a Duncan Keith
Okay.
kind of play. Someone that's always reliable back there. He can distribute the puck, kind of
Prime Duncan Keith.
stuff
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was crazy.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I think I try to play like, or even like a Nick Lidstrom, someone like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Okay.
So,
All right. So Nick Lindstrom or Duncan Keith, he's speaking pretty highly of himself here. Those are two pretty good players. So I respect
really
it.
players.
I respect it. Okay. So let's get into our second sponsor segment, brought to you by Whoosh. So what does Whoosh do, everybody? It cleans your electronics to make them bacteria free, basically. So, when we're playing games, we have a bunch of screens. Our phones are super dirty. A lot of people don't know that. So what Whoosh does is make those electronics squeaky clean. So what I want to ask you is, so let's say you have a breakaway and you're down like 4-3, 2-1, 3 minutes left. What's your move? What are you doing?
So always what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go so let's say it's just a clean lane to the net,
Yeah.
right? So I'm a left-handed player. Start from the left side of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
If the goalie is cheating towards the backhand,
Mm-hmm.
I'll usually take a slap shot on the goalie.
Okay.
But if he's not cheating, I'll tuck it in their backhand and
All right.
try to get a goal. So
All right.
that's
Okay.
kind of my breakaway move.
Okay. So
I
another.
don't really
Yeah,
get that many
I would
breakaways
assume you
'cause I'm a
wouldn't.
defenseman, but
I would assume you wouldn't. Yeah.
but that's what
Okay.
usually I'll go.
All right. So along with these, is like, what's your kind of like when you think of like your favorite moments as like recently as like playing NHL? What's kind of like one of your defining like things you've done or like a favorite moment you specifically done?
I think winning the 25K Sharks tournament was one of my biggest moments, just because the prize pool was so big,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to share the moment with all my teammates as
Yeah.
well, knowing how hard we worked. Like we put in so much work watching VODs, scrimming, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely the Sharks 25K was one of those big moments that I have, but also the first time I qualified for the World Championships was also
Okay.
a really big moment as well. Just because it was the first year they ever did it. The prize pool is massive for the
Mm-hmm.
World Championship.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
so
So yeah, Odie over here is a pretty accomplished NHLer. So yeah, you guys are listening to someone that's done a lot within the NHL game. So yeah, shout out Whoosh for sponsoring that segment. Thanks to Whoosh for keeping our electronics clean. But yeah, so other than that, we're good. I think I covered everything I want to cover. So specifically, Odie, thank you for coming on here with me.
Yeah, no problem. It was really fun.
I appreciate it because you're, as I said before, you're a prestigious guy in the NHL community. I didn't even know you won all this stuff, so it was pretty cool to hear.
Yeah, no. I really love We Got Games tournaments. They always do a really good job. So, I'll come on whenever.
All right, sounds. I mean, might have to get you on here again. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
sure.
thanks again to Odie for coming on here. Very as I keep saying, very accomplished guy. So yeah, follow We Got Game on everything at We Got Game _corp. Follow our sponsor WGG Tropics on Twitter at WGG Tropics. We also have a NHL Season 4 3v3 league starting up soon, so look out for that. And Odie, plug everything you want to plug, man. Go for it.
Yeah, just my Twitter. That's kind of all I run off of right now. It's at OdieNHL.
Okay. So yeah, go follow him. Show him some love for coming on here. Tell him you came from the We Got Game eSports podcast. But yeah, shout out Odie for coming on again, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out, everybody.